Now, I know a breathalyzer when I see one. This brings it to this.
I'll let him hear us talk, that's fine. Okay, so they're up there. Can we pull up my first slides?
Yeah, from the presentation.
Yeah.
And you want that to be shared?
What do you mean shared?
Throughout the Zoom meeting?
No, just
Okay, just here
right now. I mean, I'm gonna come back to it more than once. I don't know. Sure, but okay. So can the Zoom meeting see my?
Yeah, if I share your screen.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Well, I think about, you have a lot of people on Zoom.
Yeah.
So
You want to enter your link in the chat when it's your turn?
No, I just want to be able to share the what is that? The flyer. And then
do you want to have your flyer on the computer?
I can have the flash drive with me, but are you here? No. I didn't make a copy. So, but I send you an email. Are you able to forward out the email?
I'd have to look for it.
So right now they're looking at your presentation or slideshow.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Or am I be able to log into the Lamar system to check my email?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do that. Where is do you use a Google Chrome?
Have her pull up another. Yeah, pull up another. Do you have your phone for two-step?
Yes.
Lamar account,
Don't say
right?
it.
You need to pull into your Lamar email? Okay.
Do I need two-step verification?
I think so.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
I waited. Just because I'm not like super. Probably the closer I get, that's how I'm gonna be. Because in the first time I just did calls for, but then let's add my sophomore. Yeah, so. Yeah, I'll graduate. And so I'm like, you know, I have all these kind of that I learned
What I should do? Can I just simply open this one and then be able to show?
You want me to download it?
Yeah, you can download it. That's fine.
I'll download it.
And then
You need to open right now.
so later I can work automatically share so that I will have to see
Yeah.
it.
Alright, just looking at it right now. Alright, so we're good.
Okay, so,
It's not pulling it back. Alright, there we go.
okay, how can I lock out that email?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, in case I forgot.
I got you. Alright, we're
Okay,
good.
thank you. So later, I just use the share screen and I'll be
Yeah,
able to
it's
see.
sharing right now.
Oh, they are sharing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so is this one on right now?
I can tell you.
Okay. You too. So this allows them on the computer to hear me as well.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, welcome everyone to the Violence Symposium. I appreciate everybody coming out, especially on this rainy day. So I just want to take a moment to thank everybody who came in person and then also the viewers that we have online. We're in today for some very insightful discussions about violence, how our campus is doing, and then just violence and domestic violence in general at home. And we have somebody who came a really long way to talk to you guys. I'm very happy about that. And this project started with me teaming up with Mr. Chris Jones, and he's a community specialist, I like to call him. So Mr. Jones, would you like to come down and introduce yourself and community? Because I really like and encourage when academia merges with the community, because then I really feel like we're doing something instead of sitting in our office writing stuffy papers that nobody wants to read but ourselves. So we're putting academia into work.
Absolutely, absolutely. Good evening, well, good afternoon, everyone. We got macaroni and cheese, so please forgive me. Again, like Dr. Gage said, we definitely welcome, especially everyone that's here, so that they can eat and meet with me and Dr. Gage and our special guest for this afternoon. And again, not just meet with us as individuals, but as community. And I thank you all for your attention as well and attendance via our Zoom. We will have this recorded for individuals to reference and share with our communities at large. So again, we definitely welcome each and every one of you this afternoon. And I think we have a very phenomenal guest that is well versed in what the attention that we're trying to reach out and the information that we're trying to share amongst our communities at large. Understanding how mental health affects us all, especially when we're in school and when we have kids. So I definitely want to we did eat, definitely pay attention to what we have going on this afternoon. And again, as the director and president of the South End Charlton-Pollard Historic Community Association, a small neighborhood association that again advocates for community well-being and wellness. We appreciate your attention. Thank you.
So now I'd like to ask Dr. Chang to come down and discuss her survey. We work together in the Department of Sociology.
Yes. Thank you, Margot. Can you help me to share this?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chongfang Cheng. It's a kind of difficult name to pronounce. So that's why even Margot call me Dr. Cheng sometimes. Yeah, my first name is hard to pronounce. Same department, sociology, social work, and criminal justice. And I feel very honored and so happy that we have this opportunity to get to meet the community. Just like what
I don't
Margot
think so.
said,
I
that
don't think so.
we normally lock ourselves inside the room, the office, and then doing a lot of research, just working and writing papers. So it is a great opportunity, even though I live in Beaumont area over 15 years.
a lot of things I still need to learn from you. So one project we just launched since last year, 2023, is to focus on the environmental health study. This project was led by Perryview A&M University, collaborated with Lamar University, Texas A&M University, Texas State University, University of Kansas, etc. We have a totally 8 different institutions and partners working on this project. Mr. Jones, Chris Jones is also our team member. So the goal of this project is that a lot of the data we found that in Beaumont and Water area are scattered, although they all have data, but not connected. So a lot of information that we learn for this community, especially Southeast Texas area, is missing somewhere. So this is why we want to learn more. So instead of just collecting air quality data, we also want to have a social survey targeting large enough population so that we can learn how you think about this environment, our home, our community. So I know no matter how much we pay you, it won't, be enough to cover your time, but we do want to provide a little thank you, contribution. The survey would take approximately 20 minutes. We tested many times, and then some people get finished in 15 minutes. Some people take a little longer. But I hope that you can join us, be part of the community researcher, and then to fill out this survey and to help us to learn our environment more. Yeah, thank you so much. And I prepared some more flyers, copies, and for you to take. And this information will also be shared on social media. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. J. And by the way, I can say Jung Fang, absolutely fine, but you're the reason that I am now an associate professor here because you gave me my shot. So she was former director and she hired me. So smart lady, and that's why I call her Dr. J. But it was true in the beginning. I did have a hard time, but now I'm good. Okay, so let's get started. No, I'm gonna keep on this one. We're gonna get started with this symposium, and the first thing that I want to do is take a closer look at campus statistics. And how many of you guys are from Beaumont? From here, okay? Oh, only 4, 5? Oh, okay, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and the rest of you are not from Beaumont. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Beaumont. We are the murder capital of Texas per capita. So, yeah, I was shocked when I heard that too. I'm not from here, but my mother is, but I didn't know. But we, so the propensity that you are going to come into contact with violence is pretty high. This university, our campus, as you can see, is located in a low socioeconomic community. But when you walk across campus, and when I've walked across campus, even at night, I have felt completely safe. I really have. So our campus police officers do a great job with keeping the outside on the outside and keeping our walls safe. So I just want to recognize you guys for that and say a big thank you. Yeah. So what I did first is I went to their website, and if anybody's ever curious about all the things that happen on campus, like all the crazy stuff that they keep us, keep away from us, they give us their summary every single month. You can go in and look to see who did what to who and what happened. So I just looked at, I screened out and just looked at violence events, things that had to actually do on every single event that occurs. And this is what I found. There's my graph. So where on campus does violence happen most often? This is from January to October 2024. And as you can see, Gentry Hall is, that violence happens there a lot. I don't know why. Maybe the officer will enlighten us shortly. But overall, to say how many of us are here and walking across campus, right? I mean, it's not crazy numbers, right? Just a little bit over 10 events have happened since the beginning of year and last month. And then Morris Hall, Combs Hall are, bigger dominating halls. And so I wonder what the distinction is between those halls, because I don't live on campus and I don't know. Does anybody here live on the dorms? Anybody, or is everybody off campus? Everybody off campus? Okay, so we're gonna find out a little bit more there. The safe place to be seems to be the library, so if you want to go, it's closed now, but they're doing refurbishing. But even when it was open, apparently, like, you're good if you want to go read a book. And all these other places, very little to none incidents, as you can see, pretty much all above that too. So I mean, not so much. So quite safe to say, murder capita of Texas, Beaumont, low-income community, we're doing pretty good. Like pretty darn good, as in really good.
Can we see the slides, Dr. Gage, online?
Okay.
Thank
yes, we're going to IT to help you guys out to see the slides.
It may have just been the screen and not the other screen.
Okay.
There you go.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Somebody online, can you tell me? Can you talk to me? Can you see it now?
Yeah, we can
see it.
Okay, perfect. So if the numbers that we have, so what does it look like? So we know where it happens. What does it look like? There was, of the assaults, 42% were assaults. That was the biggest number. Then harassment at 22%, followed by a terroristic threat. And as you can see, of the smallest, which, I'm really happy to see that sexual assault is, of all of this combined, when you do the averages out, it's very small at 3%. And unlawful intimate visual material, so probably somebody sharing something inappropriate of somebody else's, private parts or whatever, at 3%. So very small as compared to that. So, so what does violence look like on campus? This pie chart gives you an idea of what you're most likely to encounter. So as a woman, I'm very happy to see, a very small, or super small number for sexual assault. So with that in mind, I would like to introduce Sergeant Byron Populon. Just wanted, before he comes up, I wanted to say for the people online, he began his career as a patrol officer and has been working at the Lamar University Police Department for over 5 years. Sergeant Populon is a Lamar University graduate. He holds an advanced ECOL license, a basic instructor's license, a field training officer certification, and is a mental health peace officer. Isn't that wonderful? To see a police officer who takes the initiative to do that as well. He is also an advanced law enforcement rapid response training instructor. Alert. It's a specialized program that prepares law enforcement officers to respond effectively to active shooter situations and other high-stress critical incidents, with a special emphasis on rapid response tactics and advanced skills for managing dangerous scenarios. Sergeant Populon also teaches civilian response to active shooter events to students, faculty, and staff throughout campus each semester. The training covers important strategies and tactics for responding to an active attack event. Students, faculty, and staff learn how to best protect themselves and others in case an active attack event happens on campus. So please join me welcoming Sergeant Populon.
Can you make it so they can see him?
They can see him.
And you slides, yes, you shared the story? Okay. So either or.
You want me to take the slides off?
Can they still see him?
I believe so.
Okay. So because I'm gonna use this later, but I would prefer that they see him.
Yeah, I think they still can.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming out this afternoon. So like you said, my name is Sergeant Byron Papillon, but I just go by Pop. It's just much easier to say and a lot easier to spell as well. So like I said, I've been here about 5 years. And so just to talk on a couple of slides that she had up a little earlier. So Gentry Hall, where would you imagine all the freshmen live at on campus? Gentry Hall. So, so that's why there's a little more activity. This is their first time away from home. This is their first time, I guess, freedom, not having to ask mom and dad to do something. So that's sort of why we have some of those situations. So this is their first time kind of transitioning from being a high school student to young adult. So that's why we got a little more problem there in Gentry Hall, but nothing we can't handle. So typically as they age and they move on to other facilities. So for example, if Campbell Hall was on there, there's probably hardly any incidents at Campbell Hall, because that's where that's the honors people, upperclassmen, seniors that live there. So I can probably count on my hand in the past 2 years how many times that I personally have been to Campbell Hall. So so eventually they do grow out of it. They do learn. But so this is speaking of the safety inside of the dormitories. So we have 5 residence halls here on campus. So in order to enter any residence hall here on campus, each student, they must scan. There's a card reader at each door they must scan to get in, and then there's a security guard they have to scan in a second time. So kind of a twofold thing to help keep everybody safe. If they have a guest, that guest also must stay with them. So if this young man was my guest, we'd scan in, and he'd also scan in. If I'm going to room 10, he would have to stay with me the entire time he's together. That's something we implemented that's new this year. That always wasn't the case. So we're trying to bring that number down in Gentry Hall. So we found that like at other universities, this is kind of something that they do. So if we give you all your freedom right now, you won't appreciate it later. So if we can get you to kind of appreciate it now and give you something to work towards, you'll learn to appreciate those freedoms later. I don't know, like last year, so this is within 2024. How many of y'all heard about the incident where the guy pistol whipped somebody in the dorms in Gentry Hall? Made the news. So I'm also the public information officer for the police department. So you do see me talking about those incidents. That's not necessarily the things I like to come and talk about on the news, but unfortunately there was an incident that did occur. So we're not going into too in depth on that particular situation. So the guy hit the person with a gun. The gun actually went off in the room. So everybody involved in that particular situation is no longer here at Lamar University. So whether they were in the room, they knew about it, they're no longer here at Lamar University. So Lamar University is going to we're going to be zero tolerance on anything that's going to be life safety. So those students would get those students the opportunity to try to cooperate and let us know what happened. Nobody wanted to cooperate, so we're going to charge everybody with it. So if nobody wants to cooperate, we know there was only one gun, it can only be in one person's hand. Nobody wants to cooperate, so we have to be extreme. So again, the ultimate goal here is to ensure the safety and security of everybody here at Lamar University. So on things like that, we're going to be zero tolerance on any incidents like that. Let's see. Also, so 2020, I don't know how many were here in 2020. So just get some of the bad press that we had out the way. So in 2020, how many of you remember there was a gentleman that came on campus, ex-employee who came here with a gun? So actually, I can actually see the parking lot where he was at. So ex-employee was no longer here, was upset for whatever reason, decided to come back up here. He had, I think, 4 or 5 guns and probably had about 1,000 rounds of ammo with him. At the time, my officers did intercept that particular person, and he was handled accordingly. One thing that probably saved us, thank God, that he was so drunk that if he would have picked up the gun, he probably would have killed himself. But he was caught over here before he can make his way on campus. So there are a lot of things, and there are a lot of other things that probably happen here on campus that we just don't. It just doesn't make the news. So after that incident where the guy with the gun went off in the dorms, we arrested 3 other people with guns. That probably didn't make the news. Probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks after that. So again, we're gonna be zero tolerance on anything like that. And like they were saying earlier, so our main job is to keep whatever supposed to be off campus, and you guys that are on campus protect you from anything that goes on campus. So at any point in time, if you're walking across campus, you kind of uneasy, maybe you're studying late at the library, it's later than what you thought, you don't feel comfortable, you can call us and we will come and walk you to your car. Don't feel like, well, I don't want to bother them. That is what campus police, that's part of us being campus police. So yeah, so we're not the department that's going to be going call like Beaumont. We'll assist them when we can, but 98% of our is going to be right here on campus. And so I know sometimes there are incidents that happen over there, but we're going to allow Beaumont to handle that, and we're going to handle anything that happens here on campus. Because again, our first priority are going to be to ensure that you all are safe. So the safety and security of any student, faculty, staff, or anybody who's coming onto this campus. So we do a lot of like trespass. We trespass a lot of people. So if you don't have any business, official business here on campus, and you're just strolling through, we don't allow people just to cut through. I'm just cutting through. We don't allow that. So that's part of why I usually tell people we're sort of in a bubble. So if you're supposed to be here, we're going to keep you here. If you're not supposed to be here, we're not going to allow you to be here. So obviously, we're in a low income area. So sometimes people the jail is right down the road. This is one of the first stops when people walk from the jail. So it's our officers' job to ensure that everybody is safe every time. And so I do want you to feel safe. So if you have a night class and it's in the Maze building, I want you to feel safe walking to the parking lot, or whether it's in the nursing building, we want you to feel safe. Or if you want to go to the student center and go to Chick-fil-A before it closes, we want you to feel safe doing that. But at any point in time, you don't feel safe, you get that gut feeling like something's not right, please call us. I would rather you call us 99 times and on the 100th time it was something. That's okay. You can call us every day. It takes us nothing to come over here and walk you to your car, watch you walk to your car. That's literally what our guys are for. So transitioning a little bit. So like you said, I do teach what's called the CRAZE, civilian response to active shooter. I can't give the whole thing right now, but I'll give you a portion of it. If it's something that you guys are interested in, I do teach it all throughout the semester. I can almost teach it. You call me in 5 minutes, I can be there pretty much anytime. If you want me to come to your class, anything like that. So we can do it anytime. All of our supervisors, all of our corporals, sergeants can teach this class. So there's somebody available 24/7 to teach that class to you. So just a little bit about civilian response to active shooters. So what should you do should you find yourself in a situation? For example, if we were in this room and we heard something outside, what would we do? Well, one thing is, you may not even notice it, but there's these boxes all around campus, and you're probably wondering what they are for. So these are night lock. They're called a night lock system. And what these are for doors that don't have locks on them. That is not good, so we need to get that looked up. That is not good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's not good. So anyway, so in a perfect world, if there's no lock on this, you can just put this on this door here and put it in here. No matter how much anybody pulls on that, they will not be able to open this door. And so you basically put this on here, turn the lights out, move away from all the windows. Unfortunately, this room does have a lot of windows, but as much as we can, let's move away from any windows that are in the room and turn all the lights out and get from in front of the door. So typically what they say is if there's somebody, an active shooter, they're just going to put on a lock. They're not going to waste time trying to break in this door. Because as you can imagine, the typical response time outside of, let's say in Beaumont, the typical response time is about 3 minutes to an incident that would happen. Well, on campus here, we have the luxury of having officers here on campus 24/7. So our typical response time to anything that would happen like that would probably be 1 minute. y'all don't know it, but there are other officers who are around campus. They don't necessarily wear a uniform. They're in other capacities around campus. There's two right over here in this particular building. So if something were to happen here, the two officers right there that will be here within seconds if something were to happen. Yeah. So this is what we in the craze response actually what we consider deny. So you're going to try to deny them access to where you're at. If at all possible, try to avoid the situation if you can avoid it. So if you can run out, if you can get somewhere else, that's always going to be your best course of action. Always, always, always try to run out and try to get somewhere else. Do not, let me hear it, repeat, do not. So if you find yourself in a situation, I got out, I want to go back in. No, don't go back in. That's what they train us for. That's what they train us for. That's why we have ballistic vests and everything like that. So if you find yourself in a situation, if you can avoid it, just your best thing to do, your best course of action is just avoid it. Give us a phone call, the best description. Hey, the actor's wearing a black shirt, khaki pants. He's about 21 years old, whatever, something like that. That's going to be your best course of action to help the police when responding. Because believe it or not, when I say we're coming. So don't worry about the door. If the door's locked, they're gonna drive the F-150 right through the front door, and they're coming. Because like I said, when we're coming hot. And so you do the things that you can to ensure, because in those situations, seconds matter. So by putting this on here, that and the guy coming by like that, even though that was 1 second, 1 to 2 seconds, we're coming. Like I said, we're coming hot. So they're not gonna fool around with trying to break in his door. So typically in those situations, it's just target availability. So they're not gonna spend time trying to get in this door. And then one thing that we, at the last resort, you may have to fight. And you may say, well, how can I fight? How can I fight somebody? I'm bigger than probably everybody, almost everybody in this room, pretty much everybody in this room. I'll just take this front row, for example. I'm bigger than everybody on this front row. But if everybody on this front row threw something at me, right now, if everybody threw a chair at me right now, it does not matter. I'm still gonna go like this. And everybody ran, they would probably stomp me out before I can grab anything on my belt. So don't be scared. We're not fighting fair. If it's me, if I don't have none, I'm gonna try to dump this podium on top of them. We're not fighting fair. So whatever you got. I know we're saying, well, I don't have a weapon. I don't have a gun. Every chair in here is a weapon. I see ladies with heels. That's a weapon. There's pens. There's all kind of stuff. There's tea. There's lemonade. There's hot coffee. Whatever you have, fight like, because your life does depend on it. So fight like your life depends on it. We're not here to fight fair. University put these things in, to help. But if it's a situation where is this door right here, and you open the door, oh shit, they're coming. You don't have time to put that on. We may have to fight. So you may have to take a second, take a deep breath. This is it. We're gonna fight. But again, they're coming through this door. So something you may do, if they're coming through the door, you stand off to the side, and when they open that door, we're throwing every chair we got at them. Everything we got. Everything we got. We're gonna survive, we want you to go home to your mom, your dad, your sisters, your brothers, your kids. You have to make a decision. I'm not gonna lose my life right here. I'm going home to my mother, my father, my wife, my husband, my daughter, aunts, grandmothers, what have you. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So it's just making the decision. So as you go up throughout your day, you have to be mentally scripting what am I going to do. So, and it doesn't take long. So when I walked in this room, I know there's 2 exits in this room. Is there an exit outside? I know there's another exit outside this door if I had to get outside. Always be prepared. It takes maybe 20 seconds just to scan the room, just to see. So somebody would have walked in right here. I've got this. I have this I can put right here. Just be prepared, have a plan. you know, so it doesn't make any sense for me to go back there when Sergeant Martin is back there to put that on there. So, hey, Sergeant Martin, put that night light back on there. I'll get this one. Hey, everybody, let's get chairs, get something in your hand. Let's get ready. So, you have a question? Yes, sir.
Yeah, how do you monitor vehicles that come in and off the campus?
Glad you said that. So we have a new system this year, which is called Flock, and it's license plate readers that are throughout campus. The students ask me where they're at. I usually don't tell them where it's at. Yes, okay. I usually don't tell them where it's at, but there are license plate readers that can track. And even if I have just a partial plate, I have a white vehicle with the letter T in it. It'll pull up every white vehicle with the letter T in it in this area. And then we can narrow it down anymore. There are over 400 cameras that are monitored throughout the day around campus. So we have a very good success rate of finding out when things happen. So if there was, we're also part of the FUSA system where Beaumont PD, if something were to happen, they can log into our cameras, they can look at it real time versus having to have our dispatch call their dispatch, then tell their officers what's going on. So in those situations, like I said, seconds matter. And those are just some of the things that the university has in place to ensure our safety. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. So, on a 24-hour time frame, how many officers are usually patrolling at a time? And then also, if I call 911, does it go straight into dispatch here, or how does that work when you say call you?
Great question. So calling 911, it's actually going to ring from a cell phone.
Yeah.
It's going to ring to Beaumont PD first, and they will have to transfer that over here. Calling from a landline phone on campus will ring to us. So we do actually have a separate number, which is 880-8311. Is our phone number to get us the quickest if you need to. And then on patrol, there's usually 4 or 5 guys patrolling on a continuous basis, but there's also, like, for example, I said, there's 2 people over here, they have other capacities, but they are officers over where, as well. There's some that work at LIT, who we hold their commission as well. You have all of our administrative staff as well. So typically, let's say if something were to happen at 3 o'clock on Monday, there's probably 12 to 15 officers right here on campus already, plus whatever Beaumont PD has out there, because everybody's coming. So when we had that hoax last year, within 5 minutes, I mean, Beaumont PD, the state troopers, Jefferson County, Needland, fire, EMS, they were all here fairly quickly. So when there's a situation like that, everybody's coming. So it's kind of like, seconds matter. Put that up there, stack all the chairs, whatever you can up against this door. Even though this door opens outwardly, if you don't have time, it's still going to slow that person down. Because like I said, everybody's coming hot in law enforcement to this area to ensure that you guys are safe. Okay. Yes, sir.
For the campus where the hall at, where the students at, do y'all have something installed like a metal detector so when they go in there to prevent them to having guns to be presented on the campus, like in certain main areas?
There are no metal detectors in the dorms. We do have metal detectors at some of the sporting events and things like that. There'll be metal detectors, but as far as in the dorms, no, sir, there are no metal detectors. Typically, we get anonymous tips, and like I said, we have cameras pretty much everywhere, and typically those people with us, they're not the smartest or the sharpest tool in the shed, so we're usually able to track those situations and handle those accordingly. So those ones that I told you about in the spring, I think 2 of them they just put it on social media, and that's how we caught them. I guess they think police don't look at social media, so but we do. So we do monitor some people's social media as well, and so that's how we solve a lot of crimes. The one where the guy came into the classroom and disrupted the class, we just started following his social media. He told us where he lived at. He told us when he was going to be there. So it was it was reason. We just pull up his social media. He was telling everything right there on live to his followers, and we just writing it down as it went. And so within one day, we were able to find out exactly where he lived at. We knew exactly what his name was. Even his followers, I think, hacked his account and gave us his real name. So that's where it worked out.
Any more questions from the floor from anybody? No? And do we have those things in the classroom as well?
Yeah, so these will be anywhere there's not a place where you can physically lock the door. So if there's no lock in your classroom, this should be there. Yeah, and if it's not, let us know, and we'll make sure that facilities installs that. So there are a little over 1,000 installed around campus. So like if you went in the set and you went to the bathroom, this went in there.
Okay.
So
Are they new? Like this is a new thing or?
this has been here about a year.
About a year.
Yeah. So I guess fairly new, but so if you walk around and you find yourself, so some professors like, well, I don't have one in my office, but you have a lock in your office, so that's why you won't have it in your office. But if you find a classroom where there's not an actual physical lock where you can just, press the button and lock it or twist it real quick and lock it, then you'll have one of these there.
Okay, can you guys join me in thanking?
I'm sorry. I have someone from the chat that would like to see this big display, please, sir.
Yes. So typically it's only going to be one. Usually there's only one door, and this only goes in one way. So the small part's going to go to the door, and the long part's going to go to the door. And that's it. And you can leave it right there. And the police department, we have the tools to unlock these from the outside, if so be. So, and so these are called night lights. Yeah, night lights is what it's called.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
I'm just waiting a few minutes to get a link from Chris.
So this looks like it's dead now.
Don't worry about it. I'm good. Okay. Right on time. I love it. I learned that from my chair, Dr. Gumelt. How to handle this, keep it moving. Thank you so much again for your informative talk. Really learned a lot. We are now going to transition into our domestic violence segment of the event. And I just want to talk a few minutes. I want to share a couple of stats with you about domestic violence during the pandemic.
Looks like it's frozen.
It's frozen. Our screen's frozen. Just give us a sec.
Open it back up. All right, there you go.
No.
It selected it. There you go.
Okay. Okay, domestic violence during the pandemic. 5 points that I want to share with you. The first one, on the individual level, domestic violence profoundly affects Black women, with approximately 40% experience such violence in their lifetime. So it's a big thing for all women, but in particular, Black women. So when women with disabilities, they're more vulnerable to domestic violence. Research indicates that women with disabilities are more likely to suffer from domestic violence and sexual assault than women without disabilities. And women with disabilities report that abuse lasts longer and it's more intense than women without disabilities. So if you're Black and then you're disabled, even worse outcomes, more than likely. According to the stats. The third one is during the pandemic, cases of domestic violence rose when lockdown came on and vulnerable populations They were in close proximity to their abusers. So then violence increased for them. Social isolation of survivors made them more susceptible to abuse, with few resources for help. Unemployment, economic, financial strain, disease, fears, childcare stress, homeschooling, depression, drug and alcohol use all increase. Domestic violence risk in the home, resulting in increase in all forms of violence. And this was not just a US problem, it was a global problem. Domestic violence increased around the world. How did it look in the US? The National Commission on COVID-19 and Criminal Justice reported that domestic violence incident in the US increased 8.1% following the imposition of lockdown orders during the 2020 pandemic. And my last one that I wanted to end with is that data from a UN Women's study confirms that the COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in a shadow pandemic of violence against women. So women are particularly a vulnerable group, and of course children. But we're talking about women today because the person who I would now like to bring up before our keynote is Miss Cynthia Aiden. She's someone I met because we are both in the long COVID world, working as advocates, and Miss Aiding is a marketing specialist, an equity policy advisor turned long COVID, and ME-CFS, just in case anybody doesn't know what ME-CFS stands for, that's chronic fatigue syndrome. Advocate from Northern Virginia. She is recovering from a March 2020 mild COVID-19 infection that led to severe disability. She has worked alongside other patient advocates to help guide legislative language for the bipartisan COVID-19 Long Haulers Act and spoke at the official press conference alongside the bill's sponsors, Republican Fire and Representative Bergman. She also met with Senator Tim Kaine and Representative Ayanna Pressley's team for their long COVID legislation. She is the co-leader of the first BIPOC long COVID ME-CFS support group. Cynthia is well known in the long COVID community for working to intervene in real time to help COVID and long COVID patients access proper care. So she's going to share with us, she's virtual, she's going to share with us her personal experience with living during the pandemic in her household.
You see her? Your participants. Let's see here. Here she is. So if she unmutes, let me get.
Cynthia, you want to go ahead and unmute? We see you on here.
I am unmuted.
There you go. Oh, you look so lovely today. I didn't expect anything less.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for letting me share my story. My name is Cynthia. I am a long COVID advocate, as she said, equity policy advisor. I have worked with the intersection of research, legislation, and patient advocacy since the beginning of the pandemic. Advised on research, study design, co-authored research on long COVID. A lot of work on federal legislation, a lot of work on advocacy, and I have been known for being very transparent and forthcoming in my struggles with getting care. However, one of the things that I didn't share was my struggles with domestic violence my entire marriage. Through behind all that work, I had a journey that was filled with unexpected challenges. Nothing as disturbing as the domestic violence that emerged from my battle with long COVID. And I'm sharing my story to try to bring the stigma down on what is domestic violence. It often is different than what you expect it to be. For me, it's very different to what I expected. I got COVID in March 2020 mildly, like a bunch of others. And I never expected my illness would linger and leave me disabled, but overnight I developed extreme fatigue, neurological issues, an allergic type reaction to all food and water, severe asthma. I lost my mobility. I could barely talk in sentences. Began to go into starvation multiple times. I was dying. I knew I was dying. No one knew what it was. There was no name for it then. I was in and out of the hospital trying desperately to figure out what was wrong with me, trying to get people to believe, trying to get people to care that I was walking one day at 36 years old and couldn't walk the next. But I was met time after time with lack of empathy and the inability for people to grasp my condition. And the truth is that my partner took that time to exploit the harm that they had already started prior to it. And so it didn't, and I was unaware for the full 4 years until very recently, just how severely he intervened in a way that nearly killed me multiple times. He would secretly lie to hospital staff during medical emergencies, telling them it was all in my head. But publicly, he presented himself as an advocate for me. He would even call out medical racism online, on his social media, to his friends and family, say he didn't know why I wasn't getting proper care. But he was lying to medical providers behind closed doors, telling them that everything was in my head. And one of the scariest days of my life happened last year when my symptoms became really severe overnight. I was experiencing severe allergic reaction and anaphylaxis from touching water, not drinking, but touching water, touching food. And even in my ultra purified air in my home, I was having my throat tighten. It was really, really terrifying. And so I called the ambulance. I knew I couldn't risk driving there, even though it was 4 minutes away. And when I got there and I told staff, hey, I have this illness, it makes me highly asthmatic, highly allergic. And it was just, they were just like, oh, okay, well, whatever. And I was like, no, you have to take this seriously. I'm diagnosed with this illness, and sometimes it doesn't present in a way that you're trained to. Like, I can have anaphylaxis from small things, even things I've had before, that was fine. And so, unsurprisingly, I had a reaction to the saline flush as they were going to give me some fluids for dehydration. I immediately had throat tightening. I could just feel my heartbeat increasing. I could feel the typical anaphylaxis happening, dizziness. And I told the nurse, hey, I'm having a reaction. I told her calmly, because I've had these reactions a lot. And I said, hey, I need some Benadryl, a prednisone, something to reverse this reaction, those reactions that I warned you about I'm having. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, when we get to your space, then we'll just let you know when we get to your room. And I was like, no, I really need help. She walks away. She comes back. And then she goes, I was like, hey, I really need, listen, my throat's closing really bad. I really, really desperately need that Benadryl. I need something, like I'm having an allergic reaction. My throat's closing. Please help me. Please give me something. And she's just slowly wheeling me in my wheelchair at that time. Slowly wheeling me and saying, oh, anytime. Well, we'll just get there. And so as I'm going in that wheelchair, my oxygen completely cuts off. I'm grabbing my throat. I'm begging as just little tiny bits of air. I'm heaving in my chest, saying, please give me a Benadryl, please. And I knew that if I got up and tried to run, that there was security all around me, that they were going to tackle me, and I would have died there, George Floyd style, on that floor. So I just sat there and I prayed as my oxygen completely closed for the first time ever with this illness, that I would just begin to breathe, or they would do something for me. And I remember looking around and just seeing them stand there, and they're telling me, calm down, you just need to calm down. And I'm just grabbing in my throat and my chest is heaving. And so when my body just came to, I prayed, that's all I had in me. There's nothing I can do. If I can't walk and I can't talk, that's all I could do. And my body natural epinephrine needed to save my life that day. And when I came down, I told them, I said, this was not a panic attack. This is part of my illness that I told you about. Still took them another 45 minutes before they even gave me a Benadryl. By the way, after that, it was not mentioned in my files that incident happened. The doctor never knew about it to this day. That's not mentioned in my files. my medical files that I nearly died that day. And I just didn't understand what was happening. And I reached out to the different researchers and different doctors that I know, and they're like, that's not part of protocol. We couldn't figure it out. I reached out to Senator Kane. They wrote a letter to the hospital. No one knew why they wouldn't give me care until recently when I saw my medical files that my husband had contacted the hospital to tell them was all in my head. And that's why they didn't give me basic care. And so I want you guys to know and to understand that abuse, especially with disabilities, looks so different, and that partners have evolved as the system has put in place things to protect us. They know to avoid the physical bruises. They know to, like, he would hit me up against the wall with the wheelchair, but not direct hand-to-hand contact, plus, again, intervening so that I wouldn't get life-saving care. Those kind of indirect but very real threats to my life and bodily harm are ways that a partner can harm you. And they really have to learn to evolve what we're looking out for in terms of that. I'm not considered a very soft or soft-spoken person, so people wouldn't think that I would just, you know, have that abuse happen to me. But I had already been secretly like looking for shelters. No shelters could accommodate my illness. I was looking for lawyers. There was no pro bono lawyers. I've been looking for lawyers for 2 years. No pro bono lawyers to help me fight him, get a protective order in. None of that. Those things that we think are in society and originally were put into society as a stopgap measures really, really are not available when you have different disabilities above that. I'm just well enough to not be in a living long-term facilitation system, but I'm still not well enough to be in an actual women's shelter and able and not have anaphylaxis from them not having an ultra-filtered air. So it leaves so many of us, especially as moms, in long situations for a very long time and unable to speak about it, knowing that the time is and the space and resources are not on your side. And I've done everything right once I found out what happened, contacting the police. Unsurprisingly, they are really not all that interested in protecting my life. They minimized it. They slow walked me being able to even give them evidence. I can't just walk there to give them evidence because of my condition. They've used that for sure to not pursue this case. It's been a struggle to handle this while trying to do the basics of food, shelter, while going through a divorce. It has been really, really, really difficult, which is why I waited 4 years into my experience to try to get anywhere. I was not healthy enough prior to me calling the police and getting him to leave. To ever to do this. I honestly think I did the right decision in waiting. I would have really been in a way worse condition if I would have done this a year prior. So I just want you guys to know that medical harm and blocking you from resources is a form of abuse. Trying to discourage you from getting care is a form of abuse. Even if they don't touch you directly and intimidate you away from getting care, that's a form of abuse. Talking and lying to doctors, isolating you from support system is a form of abuse. Lying about the ability to pay for medications or co-pays or doctor's appointments is a form of abuse. If I had known that these were abusive ways before, and not just a straightforward, I thought, okay, someone hits me, that's domestic violence. No, these are all domestic violence. And it really does. And we sadly, unfortunately, don't have a good infrastructure in place for law enforcement to have clear guides on how to address this, how to spot this, how to intervene, what they can do, when do they press charges. So even law enforcement that would be interested or care enough to do this really struggles, especially with long COVID, because there are no specific parameters in place in public policy. telling them step 1, step 2, step 3, to how to protect the person that's experiencing abuse, or even acknowledging that it is abuse. And so I'm thankful we're having this conversation with law enforcement so they understand. I know so many have the heart to do this, but they're just missing. They're missing it and missing it and missing it and missing it. Same for medical providers, but know that I'm continuing to do this fight. I will fight as long as it takes to help myself and others. And I have created full-blown algorithms to help look for and quantify how hard this is, and worked in research in order to shed light on these things. And so there's always good ones in the bad.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you want to wrap up whatever you want to say there? You want to wrap it up?
Yes,
Okay.
that's it. That was the end.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for coming out and talking and sharing your personal experience. And
thanks for having me, and I really appreciate the ability to tell my story. I know so many others have come out, but they don't want to speak publicly, and so I'm happy to do this work and try to remove the stigma of this experience.
Thank you. Okay, Chris, do you want to come on down and introduce the keynote? And if anybody wants to get some food while we're doing this transition, don't be shy. Go ahead and get that done or refill your drinks. It's absolutely okay.
So I'm zoomed out. I'm all zoomed out. Yes, sir, go ahead.
I was gonna let the lady know that's on the proctor that there is a system that's designed. It's called Adult Aging and Disability. It's called DADS. There's a system called DADS. It's Adult Aging and Disability. So for people even in their nursing homes, it protects the elderly and disabled. It's a system in the state, Texas state, it's called DADS.
Just so y'all know that was information that one of the members from the audience wanted to give you, Miss Cynthia, as well as any others that wanted to access that resource. And it's DADS. Again, thank you all. Good afternoon. I appreciate you all for being here. As Dr. Gage mentioned, please go eat. I do not want to take much of it home. I want to take some of it home, but not all of it. When I tell y'all that macaroni and cheese is so good, just for y'all that's in the chat, I'm gonna make your mouth water just a little bit. That macaroni and cheese is the bomb, like for real. It was really good. And the banana pudding is also good. You might want to try that. The bananas are fresh. The cookies were fresh. You know, the vanilla wafers were fresh as well. The bomb. I love meeting and eating.
Before we start, do you have slides that we need to put up for you? Okay. IT?
Again, my name is Christopher Jones. I am affectionately known in my community as Unc. I've ran for public office here in the city of Beaumont. I am, as I said, a community advocate, not just for the historic South End, but for all of Beaumont, especially in the auspices of what we're doing here today, outside of just building relationships. So Dr. Gage has me to present to you all one of, and I was ready to go back and finish eating that banana pudding because I was telling you it's the bomb. But we have our keynote speaker, Mary Breaux, PhD, is a professor of practice in the Department of Victim Studies and the director of Crime Victims Institute of Texas within the College of Criminal Justice at Sam Houston State University. She brings nearly 20 years of practical experience working with the Department of Family and protective services in areas such as community relations, and engagement, adult protective services programs, case management, child protective services programs, training and human resources. Dr. Breaux holds a PhD in educational leadership with an emphasis on higher education administration, 2 master's degrees in human resources and management, and a bachelor's degree in psychology. Dr. Breaux's research focuses on child abuse and neglect and elder management, mistreatment. She has published a peer-reviewed journals and contributed to book chapters. Some of her affiliations include the National Association of Black Criminal Justice, also known as NABCJ, the Academy of Criminal Justice and Sciences, the Texas Elder Abuse and Mistreatment Team, also known as Team Institute, the University of Texas Health Science Center Consortium on Aging, and the Association of College and University Educators, also known as ACUE. Texas Victim Services Association, TVSA, where she serves as current president-elect. Dr. Breaux has received numerous Sam Houston State University College for Criminal Justice Awards, such as Faculty Excellence in Service and Community Engagement, Victim Studies, Community Engagement, and Public Scholarship. She received the Sam Houston State University David Payne Community Engagement University Award. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And she's just phenomenal. Dr. Breaux feels that teaching and victimizing field assists her in learning, growing, and contributing to some bigger than herself. I welcome one of the most phenomenal Creole queens I know, Dr. Breaux.
And I will take that. I will take that. I hope I don't disappoint. How are y'all doing this afternoon? I'm really glad to be in Beaumont today, and I'm so glad Dr. Gage and her team asked me to come along to speak about something that I am passionate about, and that's like victimization of any sort. Since that's my background, being a former practitioner, I've seen a lot, just like law enforcement. Y'all see a lot every day. So I enjoy educating people about different types of victimization. A lot of my students always ask me, how do you teach this stuff all the time? Isn't it depressing? Like, yeah, it is, but I have opportunities to educate the community and others about it. I think education and awareness are key, are very key. So I do teach in our Victim Studies Department at Sam Houston State University within our
work what on at night.
We are the only Victim Studies Department. I don't know if you knew this or not. We are the only Victim Studies Department in the nation and the first Victim Studies Department in the nation where we focus solely on victimology courses for our students. So we teach courses on human trafficking, human sex trafficking, murder victimization, victim service delivery, victim service coordination, child abuse and neglect, elder abuse and crimes, just the entire gamut of everything. So I'm so excited today to be with you. I'm also the director of our Crime Victims Institute, and one of the things that we do with our Crime Victims Institute is we basically conduct victimization research on a wide variety of topics, not just child abuse and neglect, not just overabuse, but it may be green victimization. It may be human trafficking, sex trafficking, all of the things you can imagine. We research that. We pull in practitioners, we pull in researchers, because one of the things we want to do is bridge the gap between research and the field. Practitioners, of course, I have a soft spot for practitioners in the field because challenges and trends go on all the time that researchers may not necessarily know. And they can come together and educate researchers, faculty researchers about those trends and challenges that they see, while faculty researchers can come in and educate practitioners on the trends they see in research. And we do a lot of that. I brought some brochures for you. You can pass them around. Yes. If you want to take a closer look at our website, you can check out the YouTube videos, the CDI talks that we have. It's just a wealth of information if you want to know more about victimization. But today I was asked to speak about domestic violence, and we have technical research reports in there on domestic violence. We have what we call fact sheets that are short, where you can kind of take a glance at those. We also have them in Spanish too, because that was one of the requests of our population that we send these things out to. Can you have it in Spanish? So we use our, of course, Department of Languages to translate these things into Spanish. So this today is just going to be an overview, because we can talk about domestic violence a long time, but I only have 20 minutes. So we'll go ahead and get started. And I can't see without my glasses though. Okay, let's see. Will it advance on its own? Okay, all right. And domestic violence is such a critical and important type of victimization. And I don't know if you know this or not, but every minute, nearly 20 people in the United States are physically abused by an intimate partner. So this equates to more than 10 million men and women annually. And I think the statistics is 1 in 3 women are victims of domestic violence, and then 1 in 4 men are victims of domestic violence. And that's a lot of people. I mean, that's a lot of people. That could be your friends, that could be your neighbors, that could be even you. That's a lot. So what is domestic violence? This is like an official definition of domestic violence. It's a pattern of abusive behavior in a relationship used by one partner to gain or maintain power and control over the other. It includes physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic abuse. And we heard from the other survivor that she kind of focused on, she kind of stated like, people know domestic violence as physical abuse, but there are so many other gamuts to domestic violence other than physical abuse, because we associate domestic violence with physical abuse. But again, there are other parts to it. Domestic violence is often used interchangeably with other terms such as family violence and IPV, or intimate partner violence. How many of you have heard of that used interchangeably? I'm sure you have in your classes or in the community. There are also subgroups of domestic violence. What do you think one of the subgroups of domestic violence is? Anyone?
Child abuse.
Child abuse, elder abuse. Those are all like subgroups of family violence. So you see how we can talk about this for a long time. Child abuse and neglect and elder abuse, those are actually entire classes, just like family violence is. So those are actually subgroups that people really don't realize. Domestic violence in Texas may be defined differently than domestic violence in Louisiana, California, New York, because no one has uniform definitions. Probably because everyone defines it different. The statistics aren't just right, exact. We know domestic violence oftentimes is not reported, just like other types of subgroups of victimization. So these are the forms of domestic violence, and I'm just going to kind of give you some examples. Physical abuse, again, most closely associated with domestic violence. Hitting, slapping, choking, or other physical harm. Bruising, broken bones, or other visible injuries, because you can actually see that. You know, if I walked up to you and you had 2 black eyes and it was kind of unexplainable, you told me something, it's kind of like, that kind of doesn't make sense. More than likely, I probably won't assume it, but I'm probably gonna kind of think it like something is actually going on, because you can see those physical, just like child abuse, you can see the physical abuse. Emotional and psychological harm, basically undermining someone's sense of self-worth, manipulation, threats, and gaslighting. How many of you heard of gaslighting? What do you, just give me a definition of it. Doesn't have to be official. What is it? Okay, what else? Perfect. Anybody else? Anything?
I trumped everybody.
Gaslighting is where you start doubting yourself because the abuser has you thinking like, my self-esteem is kind of low. I guess that's not right. Maybe that person is right, and it happens all the time. And that's why they call it gaslighting. They kind of give you a little bit to where you're become eventually dependent on the abuser. Sexual abuse is any form of sexual contact or behavior without proper consent. That could be rape or sexual acts or covert sexual activity. That is a form of domestic violence. Economic abuse is controlling access to the money, making someone's financial dependent on that person, or denying basic needs. Anything. It could be anything. As long as it's like you see a pattern, it's power and control. Economic abuse is a type of domestic violence. Verbal abuse, using words to hurt, intimidate, or control the other person. And that could be yelling, name calling, or threats. And I'm just not talking about someone yelling back and forth that's been married maybe 70 years and that's the way they talk to each other. I'm talking about just like the pattern of it to where it's really intimidating someone. I don't think it's so fancy now.
It's like it keeps freezing. Wait, it's frozen. Okay.
It's okay, I have the PowerPoint. My mother always, did it come?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, my mother always told me to come prepared 2 ways. I had printed the PowerPoints out anyway. So let's look at the signs and symptoms of domestic violence, some physical indicators. And this is basically not like the main list. It could be numerous things. These are just some examples. This is not an exhaustive list. Frequent injuries or explanations that do not match the injuries. I just mentioned that before. Behavioral indicators, withdrawal from family and friends, sudden changes in appearance or personality, fear of the partner in certain situations. Maybe they don't talk to someone when someone else is around because of jealousy tendencies. That could be an indicator, a behavior indicator. Signs in children and teens could be behavioral problems, acting out, or sudden academic struggles. Witnessing abuse can lead to long-term trauma for children. And I believe the statistics basically state that 90% of children directly witness domestic violence at home. 90% of children. That is a lot of kids who are witnessing this. And if you look at the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, their statistics in the state of Texas, they handle Children's Protective Services and Adult Protective Services and child care licensing and some other programs. You can specifically see where domestic violence stands out in those particular cases. For many years, they did not track it, but this became such an issue and a public health issue. They started tracking domestic violence, just like human trafficking and human sex trafficking. You'll see those statistics when years ago you never saw those on state websites as far as like state organizations. But it's such an important topic, and intervention and prevention, which we'll talk about in a minute, is really important, especially when children witness this. 90% is a lot of children.
And are you talking physical, or which type is that 90%?
Directly witnessing it. They may just be bystanders looking at a mom and dad argue, fight,
So it can also be verbal.
It could be verbal. It could be verbal, it could be physical, but they're just kind of watching, and they sometimes actually get in the way, which becomes physical. Yeah. Yes. So this is a cycle of abuse. Many of you, have you seen this before? I'm sure you have, the cycle of abuse. The first is 4 phases. The first phase is tension building, and this is where the abuser, it starts off with like small conflicts or frustration buildup. And then the abuser may become more irritable or controlling of their victim or their partner. Phase 2 is incident of abuse. This is actually where it happens, where it's physical, emotional, or verbal abuse. That's where it occurs. This can happen suddenly, or it can escalate really, really quickly. And phase 3 is that honeymoon phase, which I'm sure many of you have heard of that in your studies or just reading about domestic violence and the cycle of abuse. You have that honeymoon phase where the abuser basically showers the victim with gifts and compliments, and then you have like phase 4, which is it's an incident-free phase. It's a calm phase where nothing really happens, but then it gives the victim false hope, like this may be okay, I may be able to stay. But then again, it comes around to phase 1 again, to where you have tension building, and then you have phase 2 where the incident happens, and that's why they call it a cycle of abuse. It's just a cycle. And when children see this, sometimes studies indicate that they replicate this in their own adulthood relationships. Okay, so let's take a look at the impact of domestic violence on victims, on children, and on society. On victims, it's physical health problems that can happen, chronic pain, reproductive health issues when they're sexually abused, domestically. Mental health, there's the mental health piece of it. If you're being severely physically abused every day, emotionally abused every day, it's gonna be a mental impact on your mind, psychologically, on your emotions, and anxiety comes on, depression comes on, PTSD comes on, and that's traumatic stress syndrome, and substance abuse, loss of independence, economic stability, and a sense of self-worth. That's the impact it has on victims. On children, witnessing abuse can cause trauma, behavioral issues, or even lead to the cycle of violence in their adulthood. And I just mentioned that before. It could be repeated in their adulthood. And children exposed to domestic violence are more likely to experience mental health issues, academic struggles, and engage in risky behaviors. And risky behaviors can be criminal behaviors, substance abuse, harming others, or harming themselves. On society, domestic violence, again, is a public health issue, and it costs billions of dollars a year to remedy this problem when it happens, because it affects healthcare. I mean, if you're being physically abused, psychologically abused, sexually abused, you're gonna have to go see a health provider. Legal fees is another one, and loss in productivity in general. So these are the impacts of domestic violence that you can read about, research about, and you see this daily. You wanna advance it, I don't wanna touch it. Okay, so this is the question that I get all the time from students and people around, that when I go to community talks, why don't they just leave? Why don't they just leave? It's easier said than done. Just talking to a lot of victims, and hearing their stories about, why they didn't leave. This is what I hear most of all. Number one, it's the fear of retaliation, just because they fear for their lives. The abuser could have told them, if you leave, I'm going to kill the kids. That has happened before. You can read the statistics. If you go online, you can see how many people in the state of Texas have actually been killed behind IPV, or intimate partner violence. Or I'm going to harm the dog or the cat or the animal, or I'm going to do something to you that's going to be that's going to leave you disabled. Not kill you, but I'm going to leave you disabled. I mean, things like that. So there is a fear. There is a fear there. Emotional attachment. The abuser may express remorse, or the victim may feel love or guilt. They may have this special feeling for them You know, you've heard of Stockholm Syndrome, where they have this special bond, even though it's not healthy for that particular victim. That emotional attachment is there. Lack of resources. This is a huge one. Financial dependence, lack of access to transportation or housing. Maybe the home is not in their name. Maybe they don't drive, or maybe they don't have a car. Maybe he or she has cut off all ties with the resources, the financial resources, and they can't leave. Cultural and social barriers is another one. Could be pressure from the family, community, or religious groups to stay in the relationship. And you hear that a lot if you speak to certain groups in the community. Isolation. The abuser may have isolated the victim from family and friends, making it harder to seek help. Because if they've isolated themselves from people that are close to them, they may not feel that they can reach out for that help. And if they do try to reach out for the help, the family member or friend may say, you know, you've done this before, you've told me this before, and you've never left. So they may be really, really isolated and not have the resources mentally and capacity to go ahead and get out of the relationship. So how do we support victims of domestic violence? One thing you need to do is listen without judgment. You need to lend that supportive ear and don't pressure them to leave. Because a lot of people say, you just need to leave, you just need to leave. But you don't know where their headspace is. You don't know where the abuser's headspace is either, or what they've been told by the abuser. Let them make the decision in their own time to do that. Just be supportive and listen without judgment. And validate their feelings. Acknowledge their fear, their anger, or confusion without minimizing their experiences. Because we say a lot of things that we don't know how that affects people. You know, even just in friendly conversations, you can say things and that can trigger someone. But in this situation, you really need to support them and validate their feelings. And provide the resources. Help the victims connect with local shelters, hotlines, or counseling service. There are numerous resources out there for victims of domestic violence. And maybe they don't know. And they do have to be careful when they're at home with their abuser. Because as you know, the abuser can track conversations on the computer, they can track conversations on cell phones, they can track just everyday things that we just take for granted. They can track them. So that they, you know, there are ways that you can get them resources. Encourage safety planning, and this is really important. Help them plan for a safe exit strategy if they're ready. And this includes important documents, maybe social security cards, driver's license, any birth certificates, anything like that. Identifying safe places to go, which could be shelters. And setting aside emergency funds, because that's what you see a lot of, because the abuser, again, has blocked them from accounts, blocked them from resources. But encourage that emergency funds are actually there. So prevention and intervention of domestic violence. And this is what we're doing today, educating and awareness event, basically, on domestic violence. Schools, workplaces, and communities should promote healthy relationships and recognize signs of abuse, because when we're educated, we know. And when you're educated, you can pass the word on to someone else. Many people don't even know what domestic violence looks like. I teach classes of 30 or 40 students, and all of my classes are community engaged. I have them go out into community and work with victim services organization. Otherwise, when they graduate, they're not gonna really know, and they're not gonna have that experience that they need, because you can't really work with people who have major problems. And oftentimes you don't have life experiences and you haven't seen this before. You would probably quit the first day. So I think it's really important for students, along with community and society, to kind of be to be educated, not kind of be, to be educated and aware of this type of victimization. Bystanders can play a key role in intervening when they notice the abuse. They play a key role in that. And if they are educated on how to intervene, just like some of the things we just talked about, it makes it better on the victim. Legal protection, of course, we know there are laws as protective orders, laws such as protective orders, legal advocacy, and criminal penalties for abusers are critical in preventing violence. And encourage reporting and seeking legal assistance when necessary. You know, just like I mentioned CPS and APS, they look at domestic violence. If you don't know anything else, everyone knows what CPS is. Call CPS, you know. It's not up to you to investigate, it's up to them to investigate. And if they see domestic violence on cases, they're gonna investigate that and get the help they need for the victims. Supporting healthy relationships is really important. So promoting communication, respect, and equality in relationships, and offer workshop and support groups for individuals affected by domestic violence. So some key points and takeaways from the brief presentation. Domestic violence affects individuals, families, and communities of all races, ages, and gender. It's not discriminatory. Anybody can experience domestic violence, and it's a building block. You know, you may be in a great relationship one day, and then 3 or 4 months later, it's kind of like, oh, wow, is this what I'm experiencing? So it could happen to anyone. Recognizing the signs and understanding the cycle of abuse can help prevent future violence. We all have a role and responsibility in supporting survivors and working towards a society free from violence. Because domestic violence, believe it or not, it is preventable. You know, we can prevent it, but we have to do our part as far as education and awareness in order to make that difference. So, are there any questions? Any questions? No questions? Okay.
So,
Yes. Okay.
What's your opinion on homeless shelters for women need to get help for domestic violence?
Homeless shelters as far as, okay, women that have been abused that are actually homeless?
Yes, they need to escape their abuse.
Okay, but they're homeless.
They become homeless because they're leaving.
Oh, okay, they become homeless.
In resources available that you know of whereby we can connect people locally who may be in that situation.
I know in our area, and I work in Huntsville, Texas, but I live in Houston. In Houston, of course, obviously, being a city, it's many more resources than a small community. But a lot of call like the state numbers, the state big organizations, they have a listing of county organizations that you can connect them to.
Also the police offices, the non-emergency numbers will list you, because where we live, they call the non-emergency, and there's a women's center there.
Okay.
Here in Beaumont, there's family services.
Yeah.
And another thing that you can do in the state of Texas is the United Way 211. That is like a great resource that I give everyone. 211 is an information helpline, and they will connect you with different resources. Just numerous things: housing, shelter. When it floods, you call them to connect you to, maybe you have pets. They do a wide variety of things. It's not a secret, but I think it's a well hidden resource because a lot of people don't know about it. But 211 is a great resource to call in those situations.
I was going to say there's the women's shelter off of 11th Street by Sam's. Our church usually supplies certain things over there. So it's a pretty big area that they have it on that side. Yeah.
Local resources and services are really good. The problem is the challenge, not a problem. The challenge is that when they're smaller, the resources and the staff, and then if you have so many people coming in, that's why I always suggest reaching out to the bigger organizations, and then they can give you a wide variety. And to be quite honest with you, if you go on our website with the Crime Victims Institute, we have a resource per county, so you can look up all the resources, and it's just not, for homeless women of domestic violence. It's a wide variety of resources. Yes.
So we had an online question. What happens if a woman has been abused and there is nowhere for her to go?
That's one of the things we're talking about. There is always a place to go. There are always resources and services. It's just trying to get them, just knowing where they are. And 211, again, I go back to 211. That's a great service to call. That's a great resource to call. there are many shelters, and sometimes shelters are full. Sometimes, they're full and you have to continue to call. And that's why we all need to be educated on this particular topic, because we're the ones that, in the end, that's going to be able to assist victims of domestic violence. And if it's not us, it's someone else.
Ms. Hargrove asked, what was the website again?
It's www.crimevictimsinstitute.org. And I left some brochures with Dr. Gage if she wants to.
And you say that you guys are the only victimization department in Texas?
Victim Studies Department in the nation. The first and only Victim Studies Department in the nation.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
And how long have you guys been doing this?
It's going on it'll be 5 years next year.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And you said it's preventable, domestic violence. Can you just briefly?
I believe that domestic violence is preventable if we are educated and aware of the situation, and we pass that education and awareness on to other people, even on to like the abuser, what it looks like. Because oftentimes, even we see this with inmates, there's a victimization that has happened with them. Working in Huntsville, we are surrounded by, you said y'all are surrounded by jails, but we're surrounded by prisons. So there's victimization that has happened to many inmates, but just trying to get to the root of the problem, I think is really, really important with domestic violence abusers, and even with victims. Like, what is the issue? I think a lot of things are preventable if we put our minds and put our actions to it. It's just so much in so many cases, and so many victims, and so many abusers that oftentimes it becomes overwhelming and it becomes a challenge to do that. But I do believe that it could be prevented.
Is there any last questions?
I was gonna say, there's a program called Victim Assistance for victims it's a state funded program.
Yeah.
And they can apply for that to even get help to get out of their situation, to go to a safer place.
That's great. And I recognize DAD's Department of Aging. You mentioned that. It's Department of Aging and Disability Services. The other. Yeah.
We have one more question on.
Can the federal government increase funds to assist with abuse and homelessness?
They can, and a lot of organizations do apply for those grants each year. The Texas Council on Family Violence, don't quote me on that, but if you go on their website, I think I have it on here. They actually apply for, it's on my first slide, the second slide, the quote that I had, it's from the National Coalition of Domestic Violence, I think. They do try to find funds to increase those types of resources and services for victims, but it's through grants, basically, which we all know grants. We apply for those grants. I don't apply for them, but victim service organizations do apply for those grants.
Also, someone would like for you to, go into detail or raise more awareness. We need more awareness around abuse of men, and a lot.
Absolutely. Right, and it does, and that's why I said domestic violence does not discriminate. You can be 18, 54, 75, 95. You can be Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. Gender, it does not discriminate. Domestic violence can happen to anyone, and male victim. There can be male victims, not just female victims. And female victims can abuse male victims, and same-sex partners can abuse same-sex partners. It does not discriminate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you guys join me in thanking them? Okay, we're gonna close. But before we leave, for everybody in here, I'd love to get a picture of everybody. Before you go. Chris, do you have anything to say or thank everybody? You want to say anything?
I just want to say thank you all. Y'all did put a dent in the food. I appreciate that. It was really good. But I definitely want to, again, thank you all for participating with us this afternoon. You know, dialoguing is one of the things that we definitely have to do within our communities, regardless to if we see the same ideas or if not. If we dialogue, we can come to a common consensus. And I definitely appreciate you all raising awareness around domestic violence, and how we can play our part in our community. So again, on Tuesday at 6:30, if you are here in Beaumont, we do meet every month. Our neighborhood association meets every month at the American Legion on Pennsylvania or Park Street, whether you're coming or going. The address there is 1320 Park Street. Just like I said here, I like to meet and eat. So when we do have our evening meetings, we'll definitely have something for us to snack on as well. Again, we're participating with Lamar University, Dr. Chang, we're helping her roll out the survey that, participation for air study, health studies, and bridging it with our exploratory scenarios for, air health, as well as infrastructure and other opportunities that we need to, or places that we need to pay attention to. So welcome y'all's participation and thank y'all.
Thank you, guys. Come on down, please, for me. Thank you.
Also, thank you all to the individuals online. You were phenomenal. Thank you for the questions.
Thank you.
I don't know, it might have to come in a little bit. You might have to come on.
Somebody take a screenshot.
Can you get us all, or do we need to form another row? Yeah, we're gonna
Awesome. Thank you all.
maybe come on down. We're gonna need to just, the shorter ones, come on.
I'm gonna stand by you, bro.
Okay. All right, ready?
Wait, on your mind.
1, 2, 3.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming. Okay, make sure you sign your name on my sheet if you're in my class.
Thank you all. You have a good day.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Playing well with others. But I've been doing pretty good, bro. She's been like one of my rocks for the longest. Like when my very first news interview, when I was on the campaign trail, I was with her. And before we got on, she was like, I heard you better bring it. Yeah. I think I brought it. Been riding out ever since. Only down with the neighborhood association, getting that together. Small business. And just back and forth. I do consulting. I read it. I made most of my early editorial rating. I'm glad I did because when we flooded, I think all I had was like socks, some accessories and stuff like that. But like I had gave everything away to the people from New Orleans that was coming in the month prior. And so, it was like after the redevelopment of everything, I started a consulting
specifically for individuals that were in our position, because after that hurricane, that was it for some small businesses, right? Even if you had insurance, a lot of us not knowing that insurance will help you with everything you have in your store, even lost inventory, lost wages, and everything like that. But most of the time we underinsure ourselves. And bro, that's what I did, right? I underinsured myself. And I was like, I can't bounce back with the little money, the revenues that I did have, plus all of the inventory I gave away was like write-off. So like when I got all that back, I just rediverted, my business into consulting. Bro, I've been humble. I mean, like, of course, I can't get much of anything here in the city of Beaumont because when you run or speak against the establishment, you kind of blackball. But my best way to do it is keep hammering at it. You're not gonna shut me up, and engaging with, Lamar, that's one of our best assets in the city of Beaumont, plus engaging with ExxonMobil and the Port of Beaumont.
You didn't shut your Zoom down, did you? Because some of my students might have wanted to speak to me.
Okay.
Can you keep it open? Don't shut it down.
I still have mine open.
Yeah, I think he's still open, Dr. Gage.
I might get you with a bishop friend of mine who took over the Baptist, Baptist Church, South Park Baptist Church.
Iconium?
No, not a coast.
Can I get on that Zoom meeting?
Yeah, absolutely.
So can they see me?
Yes.
Okay. Is my microphone on?
You can pull audio from here, but if you want to speak from here,
Right.
He'll try.
So is there anyone? Is there anyone on the Zoom that needs to speak with me?
Yes, I'm here, Martina.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Our abstract research methods. I had scheduled something with you for next week, but we can cancel it. But when you did we watched the video on it, you didn't mention one of the 5, but do we need all 5?
Of the abstract?
Yeah, it was
all 5.
There, like the findings. There was one.
There was the background,
it was. I don't remember what it. The methods.
The methods.
So do all 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
All 5.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
If you have more questions, come see me. Okay.
Hi, Dr. Gage. Can you hear me?
Question on Zoom. I'm here for you.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
If you do. Because I see some of you guys are still there.
Yes. Are you able to hear me by chance?
You know what I'm saying? Individuals and companies.
Okay, otherwise I'm gonna assume that you guys are good.
No, I need help.
Yes.
I need help.
Okay. Here's somebody.
But I can't hear.
I can't hear you. Why can't I hear you? Check your mute button.
Okay, I tried. Does it say I'm on mute? Let's see.
There we go.
You can hear me?
Soft.
Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Hi, Dr. Gage. I wanted to meet with you about my deviance project. I just wanted to give you my example to see if it would be sufficient.
Yes.
Okay.
So I decided to probably like eat meat at a vegan restaurant or somewhere. I don't know how to, I don't know if that makes sense. I was thinking of getting
Yeah,
like
that'll work. That makes sense.
That makes sense. So that would work.
Just email me to let me know that we spoke.
Okay, I will.
Okay, and just tell me lady with the big ponytail on top of her.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your Saturday.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, or is everybody good on here?
Yes, ma'am. I want to talk to you about my deviance project.
Okay.
I have an autistic son, so I was thinking of trying to purposefully set him off in a store to see the reaction we would get from the public.
Having your son go off in the store?
Like denying him something that he wants. He's autistic.
I'd rather not.
Okay.
It's like we just talked about abuse, and
well, yeah, because He's pretty used to it. Like, I don't let him get a toy all the time at the store.
I'd rather you do something different.
Okay.
Yeah, think of something else. But we spoke, send me an email letting me know you're the lady with the autistic son, but do something else that doesn't involve your son.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Dr. Gage.
Yeah.
We spoke before about the project. However, at the time I was undecided. So because I work in a medical facility and it's a facility that we deal with nothing but bodily fluids and specimens, I was just gonna lay out on the floor, just randomly pick places just to see the patients and my employee reactions.
Not even on notes.
Oh, like putting like lemonade down?
Like taking a blanket and laying in the waiting area as they walk in to sign in, or maybe in the processing area where it's...
Yeah, that'll work. Send me an email with something that I can link it to you, that it was the waiting room or just something so that I can link that you met with me.
Yes, ma'am, will do. Thank you.
They normally feel the smell of the air.
Who we got? Anybody else?
Yes, Dr. Gage, this is Libni.
I can hear you.
I wanted to do something like at the store, you know, like pretend to sneeze without covering your mouth, or, you know, picking your nose at a restaurant, or just farting. Pretend to, you know, noises like that when people would walk.
Yeah, that'll work. Send me an email. Let me know. Fake farting.
Okay, thank you.
In the survey is to
Anybody else?
You know how you feel about the air. So sometimes
Everybody else good?
Hey, Miss Gay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Gage. Hello.
I'm listening. I can hear you.
This Miss Abbott. Can we can I leave now?
Yeah, you can go. You were free to go a long time ago.
Thank you.
Go enjoy the rest of the Saturday.
Yes, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. See you later.
This is my landline number and stuff with me to see.
I don't know.
What is this?
That's your survey.
No, that's her survey. Go ask her. Go ask her. Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, Dr. Gate. I plan to do that. My project, like, go to the library. It's a very quiet place. And
do what?
I'm like I talk on my phone very loudly in the library. Is that okay?
Say it again to me.
Like I go to library, just talk to someone loud on the phone, or make a big noise.
Oh, you're gonna go make noise in the library?
Yeah. Was that
okay?
Work? So no.
Good luck with that. Make sure you don't get in trouble with that one.
Okay.
Anybody? Oh, and please send me an email, okay, Zane?
Okay.
Yao Ling. I think I say your first name, Yao Ling, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Send me an email. I'll remember that.
Okay. Thank you.
With my that's why. Anybody else?
Hi, Dr. Gage. I figured out my my project. We had spoke the other day.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Oh, you did such a wonderful job. Thank
you. Cut out.
Can you hear me okay?
I can't now.
So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go through like a drive-through restaurant, or go to a sit-down restaurant and order a meal. And whatever comes on the meal, we're gonna ask, or I'm gonna ask, like to take it off. For example, if I were to ask for the number 3 on the menu, that's a cheeseburger, that's onions, pickles, lettuce. You know, they're gonna say everything on it, and then I'm gonna say, actually, take off the meat, take off the cheese, take off the onions, basically to where it'd be nothing really left but a bun, for example, as one of the meals.
Something else. That's not really vegan. That's something that my kids make me do every time we go order burgers.
I'm sorry?
That's not really deviant, that's just being particular about your order. It's something that my children make me do every time we go order burgers. Think of something else.
Huh, I thought it was a little out of the ordinary to order something and then tell the server that it's actually completely different than what you were actually wanting.
Oh, you need to come eat with me and my mom and my kids. Think of something different, you can do it. But you don't need to come back to me, just think of something different. Look at some of the examples, look at some of the things that the other students said that they're doing. You can still do something with food, but just like being particular about your order is, you can also see it as like you standing up for yourself. And you know how on menus, you can special order your stuff, so it's not really deviant. And they're supposed to accommodate you. Medium well steak, well done, you know, or can I substitute this for this?
I mean, that's all I hear from the youth.
Come back with something else, but you don't have to come to me, because it's already short notice. You've met with me, so you met your requirement, okay?
Sounds great, thanks.
Okay, but please email me and let me know like it was Cody's iPhone, so that I know that that's you, that you were there, and you spoke with me.
Alrighty, thank you.
Okay. Who's next? Anybody else?
Hello, ma'am. This is Alberto. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, my Alberto Sparta here. My project was going to be going over to a public place, you know, and giving people high fives, seeing their reactions.
Yeah, we spoke about that. You're just meeting your requirement.
Yep, that's it.
You're good. I remember
Perfect.
you. You're good.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Have a good one. Yeah.
You too.
The association, it was like, no, we need.
Anybody else before I go home for the day?
All the way to if I have mental issues.
Okay, well, I wish you guys online a good rest of your day. Thank you for coming. We're gonna log off now, okay? All right. George, did you have anything you wanted to say before I left?
Attention.
Okay. You guys have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
It could just be how about a gym, right? Not on the east side of the city.
Stop recording and good to go for the meeting.
Paying attention to that, all of that is the mapping where we can identify for the city and for Texas.
Can you, is it possible to remove that?
Yes.
Yeah, right. And so like we have it pinned on our maps, and of course, you live in maybe Ward 1 or 2. I live in Ward 3, work in Ward 2, so I may see something in my commute while you at the house cooking and chilling, watching TV. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of different networking that we have to do. And we're going to be.
I get it. Yeah, when you have an event, you feel like all your nerve is just, just the tension and everything. You draw a lot of your
when
energy.
they told us, okay, you're gonna have to evacuate, we sat on the road for a while. And that was, of course, like